Welcome to Sumner School Business Immigration Basics. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law, and today we are talking about how to renew or extend your H-1B1 or E-3 visa or status, and there is a difference. So first of all, we previously had we've published videos that have the specifics of each of these visa classifications, the E-3 and the H-1B1. So refer to those if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about in terms of the H-1B1 and the E-3 visa classifications. There's some really cool classifications. Second, there is a difference. Usually the terminology that we use in the immigration world is we talk about renewing a visa, meaning applying for a new visa, and extending status. So status refers to a situation where the foreign national holding H-1B1 or E-3 is currently in the United States and they need to remain in the United States and extend their status. So there are pros and cons of each one of these that we're going to go through now. The first one, the easiest one, is renewing your visa. So if your visa is going to expire, you probably want to have a valid visa to be able to leave the United States, travel internationally, and then re-enter in H-1B1 or E-3 status. If you want to do that, you have, as of right now, you have to apply for the new E-3 or H-1B1 visa at the US consulate overseas. As of right now, there is still what's called an interview waiver program, meaning you may or may not be called in for an interview, but you have to renew the visa overseas. I say right now because Department of State says that they are rolling out a program to allow individuals to apply for a visa or renew a visa here in the United States, which would be amazing. They say that that's going to begin with the H and the L classifications, the H-1B, and which is different from the H-1B1 and the L classifications. Know that that may be coming down the road, but as of right now, you have to leave the United States and apply for the visa at the US consulate overseas. The advantage of doing this, of leaving and applying for the visa overseas, is that, of course, you will have a new visa in your passport. So you'll be able to travel internationally. Also, when you re-enter the United States with the renewed H-1B1 or E-3 visa, you will receive an I-94 that should give you a fresh duration period. So for the H-1B1, that's 1 year. For E-3, it's 2 years. So you have the advantage of having a renewed visa and a fresh I-94 period. One thing to keep in mind is that you do not have to have a valid visa if you're going to remain in the United States. The visa, keep in mind, is the document that you use to enter the United States or that you present when you apply for admission to the United States. But if you plan to just remain in the United States, not travel outside of the US and continue working in H-1B1 or E-3 status, you can use this method I'm going to tell you about in just a minute, just extending your status here in the United States. We do have a video on the difference between the visa and the I-94 that I recommend you check out if you're not clear about the difference between those two. If you want to extend your status in the United States, you can file an extension with USCIS, or rather the employer files an extension with USCIS. So there's a set of paperwork that we submit to USCIS to extend your status. There is something called the 240-day rule. It's in the regulations, and it says that if you timely file an extension for H-1B1, E-3, other visa classes, certain visa classifications, you are authorized to continue working for up to 240 days. Beyond the expiration of the I-94. One thing to keep in mind is this does not extend your visa. So even if you apply to extend your status, the visa in your passport will not be affected, and you have to have a valid visa to be able to re-enter the United States. So that's option number one if you want to extend your status here in the United States. Option number two, if your visa is still valid, your H-1B1 or E-3 visa is still valid, you can leave the United States and re-enter before the visa expires. That should give you a new period of admission on your I-94. That doesn't always work. Every now and then I've had clients do that and say, oh, they didn't extend my I-94 duration. And you also want to make sure that you have proof, you have a valid LCA that's going to cover the whole time. You have perhaps an updated letter from your employer. So definitely confirm with your immigration attorney and your employer before you do this, but it is a possible way to make that happen. Finally, you can renew your visa as I mentioned a minute ago, by leaving the United States, applying for the new visa, and then re-entering the United States with the visa and the I-94, getting a fresh I-94. I hope that this information is helpful. Please make sure that you follow us, subscribe to our channel, and share this information with anyone that you might think that it's helpful for. Until next time, I'm Emily Sumner.